Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Welcome to the class. Today we are going to talk about active and passive voice. We will talk about active and passive voice. Before going to talk about active and passive, let's discuss about voice. What is voice? Clear? We're going to talk about voice. That what do we call voice? Voice is a grammatical term used to define whether a verb is active or passive. Like voice can be of two. It can either be active or it can be what? It can be passive. Clear? As I said, like voice has got like two options or two values, we can say. Clear? Number one, it can be active, and number two, it can be what? It can be passive. Clear? So let's talk about what I mean by active and what I mean, then we will talk about passive. Clear? Active means when the subject is the doer of an action. Whenever subject is the doer of an action, that is called active. Look, for example, I teach, or Farid Safi teach. Clear? Teaches. Farid Safi what? What I do now? I teach. So now in this case, who is subject? I perform an action. Clear? I perform an action. So the subject does an action. Now it's what? It's active. Clear? But whenever an object receives an action, when object receives an action, that is called what? We call it passive. Like for example, if I say English is taught by Farid Safi. So now we pair object receives an action. Clear? In this case, that becomes what? It becomes passive. Now I will be taking you people gradually. Clear? That what really these active and passive, and when do we use, how do we use. Clear? Whenever, as I said, the subject receives an action, that is called what? Passive. When the subject does an action, that is called what? Active. Clear? So this is the first thing, this is the first rule you need to keep in your mind. Let me explain it a little bit in more detail. Look, as I said earlier, that active will be what? When the subject does an action. An active one, subject does an action. Clear? Whereas in passive, subject receives an action. How? Let me write down here some of the examples. For example, if I say Farid Safi English, for example. Now look, in this case, which one is subject? Farid Safi. And which one is object? English. Clear? So now, Farid Safi teaches English. Now in this case, the performer of an action or the subject is what? Subject performs an action. Clear? So it is in what? In this case, it's, we call it, we can say that it is active voice. Clear? When the subject receives an action. Clear? So if I say, for example, English is taught by, look, in this case, subject here we had what? Farid Safi. So now it receives an action. It doesn't perform an action. It receives an action. Are you getting it? Clear? So gradually we want to move on and you will be getting like in more details. Clear? So let's talk the first one. We're moving to talk about the first one. Clear? That is called what? That is called active voice. We just only talked about active voice. We studied voice. Then we talked about active and passive. Now we want to talk about active voice. What is in fact active voice? Clear? Active voice is, as I said earlier, that when subject performs an action or subject does an action, we use active. Clear? Let's talk about the advantages. What are the advantages of using active voices? You should know that when to use active voice sentences. Clear? Number one advantage is what? Active sentences are what? They are shorter. The sentences of active are what? They are shorter. Like they are short. They are easy to understand. Clear? They are more, direct. We use more of active sentences. Why do we use? Because the sentences are more shorter. Number one, they are more direct to understand. Clear? And you can, the listener, clear listener can understand you very easily. Get it? Number one, active sentences are more direct because subject does an action. Number two, active sentences are more common than passive voice. They're more, we use more of active sentences. Clear? Active sentences are less confusing. They are less confusing because they are easy to understand. And active sentences allow you to express clear, authoritative tone. Why it allows you to use authoritative tone? Because you are more direct to people. Like if I say, I teach English. Can you see? I teach English. So now it's more direct, it's more authoritative. But if I say, English is taught by me, clear, it's not that much authoritative. Again. Next, active sentences are more engaging to the reader. They are more engaging. How it can be more engaging to the reader? Because it's easy to understand. They are shorter. Again. They are more direct. You directly like hit something. So that's why we use more of that of your active sentences. Whereas, let's move towards the passive one. In passive, as I said, that the subject receives an action. Clear? We will talk later on how to use a different sort of thing. So in passive, when do we use, what are the advantages of passive sentences? Passive sentences advantages are, number one advantage of passive voice is that it allows clear the subject to avoid the responsibility. Number one thing, like look, if I say I teach English, here I take the responsibility. It's more direct. But if I say English is taught by me, now over here English is taught. English is taught, simple. Like you understand English. We move focus on the object. We don't move focus on the subject, that who performs an action. We more focus on the object, like that something clear, it is done. And this, the subject responsibility has been what? It has been avoided. Like for example, you are sitting here, it's your first day on for your class, and somebody goes to the office and he asks about the teacher. Where is our teacher? Clear? So what they say, you will be sent the teacher. You will be sent the teacher. Now we use what? Passive voice. We don't let you know that who will be sent. We want to say that the teacher, you are more concerned with the teacher, not the person whom we are going to teach. Number one. Second thing is, we use passive sentences at a time that when subject is not that much important. Who is not important? Subject is not important. We are more concerned with the teacher, not with the teacher who teaches us. When the subject is not important, number one. Number two, when the subject is unknown, or the subject is not important, or the subject is not clear, we use passive sentences. Like for example, if I say, look, Ali invented washing machine. Who invented? Ali. Now here subject is mentioned as active. But look, for us subject is not important, or for you subject is unknown. We don't understand that who invented the washing machine. So how can we say washing machine was invented? Again, because we avoid the subject, or subject is not, either subject is not important, number one, or subject is unclear, it's unknown, or you don't want to mention the subject. Again, you don't want to mention the subject. So at that case, we use that of passives. Look, for example, somebody, your brother broke the outside mirror. Who broke? Your brother. And you want to tell your father, and you want to, to save your brother, you don't want to mention your brother. So how would you say? Like, the mirror is broken. The mirror is broken. Now, You didn't mention your brother. Your more focus is on what? Your more focus is on the mirror. Your focus is not who broke the mirror. Again. So how many things I told you? We use passive sentences at the time that when the subject is not important or when it is unknown. Like who broke the mirror, you don't know about that. But what is important that the mirror is broken. At that time we use. Or next, when subject is less important, what is more important? Mirror is more important than the subject. Like for example, if I say I teach, if the subject is not that much important, what is more important? Teaching is more important for us. So then we don't use that of English is more important for you people. English is taught. Like for example, how do you say that? Yes, English is taught at our school. Like English subject is taught at our school. Who teaches you? The subject is not important. What is more important for us? That the subject is important. That yes, English is taught at our school. Again. So for that purpose, we use that of your passive sentences. Get it? Now, passive sentences are used when the subject is more important than the, when the object is more important than the subject. Passive sentences are used when the subject is clear, unclear, clear, it's unclear, unimportant or unknown. Passive sentences allow you to shift the focus of the subject. Like as I told you that the mirror is broken. I more focused on the mirror. I shifted the focus of my father from Ali, that Ali broke the mirror. So in this case, it's more direct, it's active sentence, clear? So I want to shift the focus who broke the mirror. I just want to bring, you know, and focus what? The mirror, not the person, not the subject. So for that case, you can use passive sentences are used when the doer of an action represents a large group of different individuals. When, like for example, assignment is done. Clear? Assignment is done. So there are a lot number of students that did it. But what we are more important, we are more concerned with the assignment, with the task it has been done, not who did it. So for that purpose, we use what? Passive sentences. Are you getting it? Now let's talk about formation of passive sentences, how we can form passive sentences. This is now important. We will study only 5 steps. And how many steps? 5 steps. And you need to understand these 5 steps. If you understand these 5 steps, quite easily you can change any type of sentence from active into passive. Are you ready now? Is this clear, the advantages and disadvantages? Is this clear when to use active and when to use passive? Now we want to, how you can form passive sentence, clear? And 5 simple steps we will understand it. How many steps? 5. Number 1 step is, whenever you have a sentence, clear? Whenever we have been given with what? With a sentence, so you will look for the subject and number 2, object. Step number 1. In a sentence, first of all, you will try to find out what? Subject and object. Remember that only transitive verbs are transitive verbs can be changed into passive, not intransitive. Remember that. Transitive verbs are those verbs, it is followed by an object. Haga verbs چې کوم نه بعد object راځي هغه سره the passive ته change کېدای شي. ٹھیک شو؟ the active نه چې کوم نه بعد object نه راځي هغه نشي کېدای. نو که چاته پته نه transitive verbs دي هغه ویډیو هم شته په YouTube چینل کتلی شئ تاسو. ګورئ ګلونو. First of all, step number 1. In a sentence, what you will look? Subject and object. First of all, like for example, if I say, Ali studies English. Now look at this sentence. Ali is what? It's subject. And what is English? It's an object. So the first step, what we will do it to shuffle subject with an object. Clear? Like subject will come in place of an object. Like English will go in place of subject. Clear? Here, suppose studies Ali. This is the first step. Forget about what comes in the middle. I'm gonna come in the second step. Clear? So first step is clear. Just bring subject in place of an object and object in place of subject. This is the first step. Clear? After this first step, step number 2, we will follow. that you will use be verb, helping verb here. This is the only difference. This is the only thing. This is the only thing that I can say it's like a steering wheel. Clear? That you can change from one tense to another tense. And it will be different for every tense. Only this one thing will be different. The only thing that it can bring, you know, differences from active into passive, that is helping verb. Because for every tense, there would be a different helping verb. So second step is what? Helping you verb. You will be using what? Be verb here. So, for example, if it is simple present tense, I will teach you how to, like, for which tense which helping verb is used. So if this simple present tense, you can use as, am, are. If it is simple past, was, were, clear, etc. So you will use what? Be verb over here. I'm gonna teach you for every tense that which be verb will be used. If you keep all those be verbs in your mind, quite easily people can change it. Clear? This is the only thing that it will be different for every tense. For present continuous, it will be different. For simple present, it will be different. For every tense, it will be different. But rest of the 4 steps will be the same. I'm going to teach you how many steps? 5 steps. Step number 1, and the last 3 steps are same for all, but the only difference it comes in be verb. It will be different. Clear? Let's take this example, the above one. Look, I said English. Which tense is that? English. Ali studies English. It's simple present. So in simple present tense, we use English is 1, singular. So I need to use is. Is. I will bring here is. And studies. Clear? Who studies it? Ali, for example. Forget about studies, etc. Later on, we are going to study it. Clear? But the second step is be verb here. Number 1, shuffle the subjects. Number second step is what? Be verb. Number 3rd is, step number 3 is, you will always use past participle form of the verb. Which form of the verb? Past participle. Past participle. Past participle means 3rd form of the verb will be in all passive voices. Either it is continuous, either whatever tense it is. We will use which form of the verb? Past participle form of the verb. Only as I told you that the only differences it comes, it is in be verb. That would be in what? That would be in be verb, the second step. Rest of the time will be same for all of them. Like the same example, if you want to take. So first of all, we change the subject. Like English comes in the beginning. Then I put what? Be verb. It is. And then I will put what after this? 3rd form of the verb. Studied. Clear? And here comes Ali. So that was what we had, the 3rd step. Then we want to move towards that of the 4th step. Clear? 4th one is what? That is by phrase. By phrase. We call it by phrase. What is by phrase? Is easy, clear? But phrase we call like group of words. Group of words, like more than one word. Clear? More than one word. So that is called what? By phrase. We will call it what? Like for example, by Ali. It is Ali. So we will say by Ali. So it becomes what? Phrase. Which phrase is this? We call it by phrase. Why we call it by phrase? Because it starts with by. Get it? So I can say that English is studied by Ali. This is the 4th step. 5th step, the last one, it's about pronouns. It's about what? Pronouns. So pronouns, if there is subject pronoun, so subject pronoun will change into object pronoun and object pronoun will change into subject, because in passive voice, positions of subject and object, it gets changed. So that's why pronouns also gets changed. Like if I say, he studies English. So now how English is studied, very good, by him. Very good. So this is what, like, pronouns will get changed. So we have got like these 5 steps. And these 5 steps, any type of sentence, if it comes to you, you can quite easily change. You can convert them. Is this easy? Now look here, let's come. The first one is simple present tense. Which tense? Simple present tense. Clear? In simple present tense, like they studied English. They studied English. Clear? How many steps we need here? 5. Clear? Number 1, English. Number 2, is viewer, because simple present tense we will use is, only is. And the third step, past participle. The fourth one, by phrase and pronoun. Them has been converted. They converted into them. The second one, present continuous tense, present progressive. In present progressive tense, we have be verb that is being. Simple present tense, the helping verb is what? There is only is. In present continuous, it will be what? Is being. Like they are studying English. So English is being set up like just only we will have, the difference will be what? That is being is for what? Like if you have present continuous and present continuous is being, are being, am being. Clear? Like for example, I'm being ashamed of the act. It's in passive. Clear? He is being. So is being and being are being. Clear? It depends on the subject. If it's right now it's English is singular, that's why we have used as being. If the subject was plural, clear, we will study what? Are being. So this is the, in the first one we have, this is the auxiliary verb, present. Second one, this is the auxiliary verb. Third one, present perfect tense. They have studied English. Clear? So it will be, we will have has been. English has been. And if it is plural, they have been. So it will be what? Have been. So that's for present perfect. Present perfect continuous is for present perfect continuous tense. So it is what? They have been studying English. So it will be what? Has been being. Look, like, let me clear you. In the first one, it's is. Second one is being. Can you see the ing form? Is being. Third one, like we, in present perfect tense, what we use? Has plus third form of the verb. So has been comes. The fourth one, present perfect continuous. Can you see like this is present perfect, has been, and being is what? Continuous. Very good. So from this place, it's very easy to understand, Claire. This is the, what we call the auxiliaries. Look, rest of the things are completely same. There is no difference. The only difference that comes in the second step I told you, Claire. Next one. Simple past tense. This is my simple past. So simple present, that is. So simple past is was. Auxiliary will be was. They studied English. English was studied by them. Past progressive tense, they were studying English. So again, present continuous, it was what? Is being, was, is being, it would change into was being. Very good. It's past continuous. Present perfect, had been studied. So they say had been studied, had studied English, had been studied English. There was has been or have been, here is had been. They had been being studied, cleared. So we have got the same way, had been being, it comes like past perfect continuous tense. Simple future tense, they will study English. So there will be, just only put after, well, you will put be here. And then we have future perfect tense, they will have studied, they will have future perfect again, they will have been studied English. So rest of the tenses, like they are not converted, clear, from active into passive.
And the last one, you just said in the English will have been studied by them.
If you want to put, it's okay. If you don't want to put, no problem.
In all cases, you.
In all cases, if you want to put. If you don't want to put, because that is not important. Like for example, look, I bought mobile phone, but it's not important who bought it. What is more important for me? That mobile phone has been bought. Mobile is bought. Clear? So that is important. It's not important who bought it. Like the topic is instructed. Active passive is instructed. It's not important who instructed. If you want to say by Ali, so it's okay. If you don't, you want to avoid it, because it's a, what we are more concerned here, we are more concerned on the topic, for the topic that has been instructed to you or not. Is this clear? Okay, so the same way, like if you want to ask questions, so the same way, like in simple present tense, simple past, or any of the tenses, how do we go with it? You will just ask question with auxiliaries. Like English is studied. So just auxiliaries, which one is auxiliary here? Is. So you will bring is only in the beginning. Is English studied? Question mark. Like a continuous one, clear. If you want to ask, English is being studied, how would you say? Is English being studied? You will just bring the main auxiliary verb here. Main auxiliary, not all, completely. Like for example, if you have you, for example, you want to say the same example, English has studied. Clear? English has been studied. It's present perfect. So how would you say? Has English been studied? Because the main auxiliary is what? Has. The main auxiliary is. So been and being and all these rest of the things would be on its own places. Clear? You will just only bring the auxiliary word, and it changes into what? It will change it into passive.